It's time to pull those belts tight, race fans. The front stretch is coming at you, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Dirk Houston.
Well, good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch presented by Joe's Karting at Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. Fast-paced, white-knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue. Get over to Joe's today. Do yourself right with a little indoor kart racing. joeskarting.com. Again, karting with a K. And I hate to do this because it's not very much like my character to do it, but I got to brag just kicking up the show a little bit.
It's not like my character.
I don't brag about myself a lot.
That's because you don't have anything to brag about.
I got Sarah. That's plenty to brag about. I don't know what you're talking about, but after
you got Stu.
I do. He's such an awesome cat. After the Homestead Viewing party on Sunday night, which if any of you came or watched some of the Facebook Live videos or any of the posts, we had an awesome time. But Zach Ralston, who is the ARCA Series driver and soon to be, we're not supposed to talk about it quite yet because it's still a deal in the works, but he's working on a new ride for 2020, and he came all the way over from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Took his weekend off, came on over to hang out with Dirk and I and all of our friends at the Quaker Steak and Lube Homestead Viewing party. And then afterwards, we went over to Joe's Karting. Because, come on, you get an old racer like Zach, You get a racer like Zach, and you're going to go to the racetrack. And it was just right across the road. Yeah. The first race, we did a Facebook Live video on it, and I mean, I'm man enough to admit he whooped me. I started in front of him. He started third. I started second, and his girlfriend Ashley started on the lead. And we're sitting there in the pits as the engines are kind of warming up a little bit, and I'm thinking I got to get by Ashley, and then I think I can stand a chance. And if you've ever been to Joe's, just after the long swoop, this breeze went by me.
And he waved.
I saw him. He actually did. He told me I was number one. If you're on the Facebook Live, you saw the number one that he gave me. Because I think it's legal over there. It's not legal to talk about it on the radio, the kind of number one that he showed me. But anyways, he blew right past me. And I eventually remembered how to race at Joe's and got my groove back. And then we raced for a second time. And he was giving me some pointers about you want to make sure and never or don't touch the brakes. You want to just feather the throttle into the corners. And that's been the opposite of what Buddy Ray, who is the track manager at Joe's, has told me how to race that track and given me some pointers and a lot of people around this area. And so I thought, well, you know what? He beat me, so I'm going to try it. And for 3 laps, I tried it. He got right by me again because I started in front of him. But then I started staying with him, and I eventually figured how to take the corners and went back to kind of my style a little bit, and I was able to drive right past him, but we had a great 4 or 5 lap battle for a while there, just going back and forth, and he would run me into the corner like you would do at Martinsville. You know, you can't get by him, so you just bumper to bumper and just push him up the corner, and then you duck underneath and go. It was a lot of fun doing that back and forth, and eventually I was able to score it away, and I beat him, and I thought for sure that he just kind of held back and went to go race with Ashley, because that's kind of what the gentleman thing to do. You don't want to just leave your girlfriend out there. And by the way, she did a lot better that second race.
Yeah, she didn't spin out. She spun out the first race.
She got lapped 7 times that first race, but I only lapped her once in the second race. So that's a heck of an improvement. And they both, if you watch that Facebook Live video after the first one, that is the reaction of most people at Joe's Karting, is just she could not stop laughing and carrying on and giggling, and it's just such an adrenaline rush, such an amazing experience when you go to Joe's Karting. Get over to Joe's today. Do it Monday, or go over for the Slick Track Nationals. I love that road course because it's so dynamic and it's so tricky to race. And then that's not to take away from the slick track, because I think there is definitely elements of it that it's so much more difficult. It's such a fun place to go race.
Well, Ashley was saying that she was hyperventilating and that her visor steamed up and fogged up and she could hardly say. But everybody had a good time. Even the people that they were racing against, there was one guy out there that was super fast. I have no idea who the guy was.
I think his name was Caleb. I saw him on my score sheet when I got home that night, but I don't know who he was. I never met him before.
All I know is he could roll it.
He ran really well, and it was just such an awesome experience. We highly suggest you get over to Joe's Karting. I know they're a sponsor of this show, but even before they sponsored this show, I was a huge proponent of Joe's Karting. I've been a fan of theirs since a couple of weeks after they opened, and I got to go over there and race for the first time. It's just such an amazing experience. I highly highly suggest anybody that hasn't done it yet, get over to Joe's Karting and do yourself right with a little indoor kart racing. This is a great time of the year. I would actually venture to say this is the perfect time of the year because it's not the dead of summer, so it's not hot. You're not going to sweat like crazy under that helmet. And it's not the dead of winter where you're going to be a little bit chilled. Like, I like to wear gloves when I go race there during the wintertime because it is a little bit cooler in there, and you're going so fast that it can cool your hands off pretty quickly. So I wear gloves, just simple old gloves, nothing really, no Dale Earnhardt Jr. Skull lining gloves, but I like to wear gloves just to stay a little bit warmer. But this is the perfect time of the year where you could stay that perfect temperature. Your heart rate can get up, but you're not going to just sweat right through all your clothes. Joe'sKarting.com for more information on what they could do for you. It's a great experience, and we really appreciate all the support Joe's Karting has given the front stretch. One of these years, I'm going to look up how long we've been on. I'm pretty sure it was July of 2011 was when we launched.
Well, this is the end of my 5th year.
Yeah.
Were you on 3 years before me? I just
think
thought
so.
it was 2.
It was July of 2011 when the show got launched. I joined in January or February of 2012.
Okay.
So it's been a great experience, and I mean, just some of the things we've got to do. I mean, take Sunday for instance. Sarah was telling me after the day was over, she's like, "Boy, you've had a long day," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I got to go sit at Quaker Steak and Lube, drink some beers, eat some wings, watch a NASCAR race, hang out with all of my friends, and hand out some amazing prizes, and then I got to go race at Joe's Karting." And I mean, it's a long day, yeah, it's a lot of work, but God, is it fun? I mean, we get to have way too much fun as a part of this show.
Yeah, I was amazed that the tires went so quick. I thought nobody'd take those.
At Homestead? Oh, at the party, we had 2 Goodyear Eagle tires available for giveaway. Race used. The one of them was from the May, Kansas race, and I can't remember which one we got at the Iowa race. Was it the June race? Was that when we picked up that tire?
Yeah, we got tires at the June race, and the actual Kansas tire was from the year before. We couldn't get any in May race because all they were giving them out to was the military.
I thought that was the May race. I thought that was the October race. No, October race we didn't even try.
This year we didn't, but last year.
Yeah, you're right, because it sat in my garage for so long. You're absolutely right. That was from 2018. James said he had a great time. It was great seeing you over there, James. And thanks for the hat. Absolutely, man. We're glad to hook you up. James did a trivia question, knocked it out of the park, knew it right away. He was over there for a little bit, so it's always a fun time. Mark your calendars. February 16th is going to be the Daytona 500 party. Same deal. Race kicks off, I would assume, probably around 1 o'clock to noon. So we'll get there about an hour and a half, 2 hours early to get everybody set up, to get all the prizes rolled out, to get everyone ready to go, and then all of the opportunities to win cash. Patsy Havenridge went home with $100 cash from Quaker Steak and Lube, because this blew my mind. She was the only one that took Kyle Busch to win the race.
The only one. She didn't even have to win the tiebreaker. She was the only one that picked him.
I couldn't believe that for the life of me. That was just crazy to hear.
Well, and the only one that took... They allow 5 picks on each driver. The only one that got all 5 picks was Denny Hamlin.
Yeah. It was the only one that got filled up, but so it was a great time. And the Daytona 500 party is going to be another great time. We're going to kick off the 2020 season and get you guys all set for that. We're going to get you signed up for the Pick'ems contest presented by Rick Havenridge of Wealth Partners, which, by the way, we have a winner for that, which we'll discuss coming up in turn number 4. But, man, we've gone 10 minutes, and we haven't even talked about the championship race at Homestead Miami Speedway. I don't care what anybody says about Kyle Busch's talent. It was because he came on our show.
Very well could have been.
I don't think
Who ran second?
The guy who came on our show.
Exactly.
Great race. And Dirk, over the last couple of years, we've had this style of the way of deciding our champion. I can't remember the championship 4 having so many issues. Usually there was one driver that was just, from the beginning, it was bad juju or whatever, they were out. But usually first, second, and third were kind of in contention. 3 of the 4 championship drivers all had issues, and major issues, that held them back from being real contenders.
Well, the Truex tire deal is just, that's out there. It happens in a blue moon, and you see it in the Truck Series a couple times a year. You see it in the Xfinity Series once or twice a year, but you just don't see it in the Cup Series. You don't put the tires on the wrong side.
Especially when you are one of the fact that it was a Joe Gibbs Racing pit team blows my mind. The fact that they're the ones that had the issue just blows my mind, because when you think of Joe Gibbs Racing, you think of pretty good race cars, but they have the best pit crew of any organization, and that is just kind of one of those bonehead mistakes that it happens in professional sports. But that's just one of those things that I would have never guessed that would have ever happened to A, Cup Series team within the top 20, B, it be Joe Gibbs Racing, and C, it be one of the championship 4.
Yeah, at the championship level, at the championship round was just Just ungodly. I don't think, though, that actually cost him the race. He had plenty of time out. That was in stage 2.
Yeah.
He had plenty of time after that to get things back. One thing that really hurt him, as he did every time when they ran through the cycle of green flag stops, Martin Truex ran longer than everybody else, and he was giving up 2 seconds a lap. That last green flag stop they took, he went in 4 seconds behind and came out 10 seconds behind.
Mm-hmm.
That's 6 seconds he had to try and make up, and you can't do that.
He said that on that last green flag run, he was just too far back to really catch Kyle, and by the time he got up into second place, he'd already burned his tires off, and he was just done. So as you have heard and kind of guessed, or maybe saw it for yourself, Kyle Busch ends up winning the race and winning the championship. Martin Truex Jr. comes home in third. Eric Jones with a nice third-place finish.
Yeah, Martin Truex
Jr. in second. Started third. Eric Jones finishes third. Kevin Harvick finishes fourth. Joey Logano 5th, Clint Bowyer 6th, Ryan Newman 7th, Austin Dillon 8th, Alex Bowman 9th, and Denny Hamlin top 10. Hamlin led just one time for 2 laps during a green flag stop. Harvick led for 41 laps. Martin Truex Jr. led 103 laps with Kyle Busch leading 120. The championship 4 were the only drivers, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. led once for 1 lap, but Ricky was the only one of the championship 4, of the non-championship 4 that led. So all the other championship 4 drivers really led that race. You could take Denny Hamlin for what it's worth. He just kind of had a rough day again. I think he had pit road violations that they had to come back and make some adjustments.
There were several pit road violations throughout the day. But, the cars that were supposed to be up front were up front.
Yep.
Plain and simple.
And that's kind of the way you want to see it. I saw somebody on Facebook that blasted NASCAR for that there's more than just 4 drivers in today's race. And I quickly corrected them and say, well, it's not NASCAR that decides who's on the TV. It's the broadcast partners. You should send that to NBC. But, I mean, what do you expect? I mean, they're the 4 drivers that everyone wants to know what's going on with them because they're the only ones that have the opportunity to win the championship. So you got to cover them.
Well, a lot of the discourse started Friday night when Matt Crafton won his 3rd title, but Matt Crafton has not won a race in 2 years.
Yeah.
And as a purist like me, I don't like that.
Yeah.
I do not like that being able to happen.
Was it 2 years ago that Ryan Newman had an opportunity to win the NASCAR championship without even winning a race?
Yep.
Who was he racing for at that time? Was it Stuart Haas? No, he was replacing Stuart Haas by then. He was racing.
He was with RCR, Richard Childress.
Yeah, that's right. He was in the 31 truck
Caterpillar.
or 31 car. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you want to see him win a race because that's one of the major things. But in NASCAR, in IndyCar, in any form of racing, more than wins, it's consistency that will win you a championship. The guy who won the most races in 2019 didn't win the championship. It was Kyle Busch ended up winning 6.
But I didn't say win the most. I said
no,
win
I know,
a race.
I know. My point is just consistency. It's not necessarily about winning races. It's that when you can't win races, you still finish top 5, top 3.
Well, but this playoff thing with winning races to advance is supposed to reward winners. Mm-hmm. And in this case, it didn't.
And the Truck Series doesn't have as many regulars. They've got, 10, 12 regulars, maybe 15 that are there for the entire season?
I was going to say 15 to 20, somewhere in there.
So of them, there's probably 5. I mean, Matt Crafton's still winning championships, and he's not even in a top-tier organization anymore. He's moved around a couple of times.
He's in the same truck outside of his little stint with Harvick that he's been in his whole career.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, he's with Thorson at ThorSport. So,
but Kyle Busch ends up winning his 2nd championship, and after he won, let me back up just a little bit. We did a kind of an impromptu poll before the race started of who was going to win the championship. Started out with did I start out with Truex? And everyone cheered, and I thought, ooh, this is going to be a pretty lively crowd. And then I said Kevin Harvick, and there was a cricket, by the way, that was off in the corner that I could hear. So then I thought, all right, let's go back to the polarizing guy. Let's go with Kyle Busch, and the boos came out. Everybody was going for Martin Truex Jr. But when there
was some Hamlin. There was some sentimental value with having J.D. Gibbs on the car and that whole story. There was some sentiment there, and that actually showed, like I said, in the contest book. That was the only one that got 5 picks.
From what I was able to notice on social media after the race was over with, that a lot of people were just kind of basically saying, I don't like Kyle. I don't like his attitude. I don't like the way that he handles situations, but you can't deny his talent.
Well, everybody's upset because they keep wanting to compare Kyle to the King because across 3 series, the top 3 series, he's got 200 wins like Richard Petty does, and on and on and on, And, the people that do that don't have half the brains they think they've got. Well, it's just a fact,
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily they don't have half the brain, but they don't think things through very thoroughly. You cannot compare Joe Montana to Tom Brady because they played during 2 totally different eras. You can't compare Richard Petty to anybody that races today because they raced during 2 totally different eras. I'm a firm believer that if you took 50 races and put Richard Petty in a car today, he wouldn't have the success that he did back then. And the same thing for Kyle Busch. You put Kyle Busch into Richard Petty's car, he probably wouldn't have the same success that he does today. I just think that they're 2 totally different styles. Kyle came up in one set of rules, in one set of car, and he has learned to be the best in that. Same thing with Richard.
Well,
you can't draw comparisons between the 2.
There's a bigger factor in Richard's stuff is the fact that back in the 60s, all the manufacturers didn't have 15 cars,
Yeah. Well, and think of the technology.
Richard Petty was in one of the very few factory-backed cars.
Yeah.
You also ran 70-plus races a year, and some of those races would have 60 entries. Some of them would have 25.
Mm-hmm.
So you had a lot more chances to win races,
And I think the talent level wasn't as strong as it is today.
It was not as widespread as it is.
Right. Yeah. I think 20 drivers in the Cup Series could win a race on a Sunday. I take that back. Maybe 15.
Well, there was probably close to 20 drivers this year on the track that had won races.
Yeah.
So
you can't draw that comparison, but I do believe that Kyle Busch is probably the most talented driver of our deck of the last probably 10 years. Jimmy Johnson is a very, very good driver, but I think that they strategized some of his wins a little bit. They used the system to their favor, which is another reason why we have this current system, is because when they couldn't get the win, they didn't push for it. They pushed for just the best finish they could get, and they pointed their way into championships quite a few times. I'm not taking anything away from him, but I still think Kyle Busch, I've been sold on him since that day at Daytona when he saved the car from spinning on the apron twice and never wrecked it, never touched another car, and still went out there and had a great race.
Well, I saw something today that online. It was actually the NASCAR show that's got Jamie McMurray on it and Larry McReynolds. I don't remember which one of those NASCAR shows it is, but
I think that's Race Hub on Fox.
It might be. I was seeing it on Facebook and seeing a video of it, and they were talking and stated the fact that Joe Gibbs Racing now has 5 championships. And it kind of boggled my mind because I'm thinking, wow, they ought to have 10. They ought to have 12.
Yeah.
But now Kyle Busch has 2, Stewart had 2, and Bobby Labonte had 1. That's all the titles Joe Gibbs Racing has, with all the great drivers they've had in their 26 or 7 years of existence. I don't remember when they started, early 90s somewhere. I just thought they'd have more championships than that. But obviously Kyle's got more in him. Will he get any more? Who knows?
I think he's still one of the strongest. The fact that he went 21 races without a win was kind of baffling to me until you brought it up when we were talking to him. I had no idea it had been that long since he picked up a win.
Well, yeah,
this season.
Yeah, I mean, that's when he said that, because I was giving him a hard time. It's not a bad season, for anybody else but you, having 5 seconds in 21 races.
Right. But that's the kind of stuff that I like about Kyle. I'm very happy with this year's champion. I think it now puts him on a new level that there might have been some questions about that first championship he won. I'm sorry, I still fight with people today that somebody said, well, he should have never been in the championship. He never should have been involved in the championship. And I will trump that argument any day of the week to say he did more in 16 races to qualify for the playoffs than Casey Kane did in 26 races. By the way, it was Casey Kane that he bumped out of the playoffs the race before the regular season ended. Casey Kane was at Hendrick Motorsports, had every opportunity and 10 additional races and couldn't get it done. Tell me how Kyle Busch doesn't deserve to be in that championship and how he didn't deserve to win that race. I'll argue with anybody all day long about that.
He played by the rules he was given.
Right.
And he won.
He won. He absolutely won. And so but now he has, whatever. Oh, NASCAR gave it to him last time. Well, what did they give to him this time? He earned it. So now I think it's no question, Hall of Famer. He's probably one of the best of our time. When we sit back and think about 40, 50 years from now, when we're Chocolate Myers going, well, back in my day, Kyle Busch would always be mad because he finished second. we'll be talking about how great Kyle Busch was, along with the Kevin Harvicks and the Tony Stewarts and the Jimmy Johnsons and the Matt Kenseths and the Kurt Busches. We'll be talking about Kyle right along with some of the best this sport has ever seen.
Well, this was right about the age where Jimmy Johnson put his string of 5 together. Mm-hmm. And, Jimmy he had one good year since he hit 40. And he's kind of, he hasn't done much in the last couple of years.
Much like Tony Stewart, I'm really surprised at how fast Jimmy dropped off. Now, Tony, I give him a little bit of a break because he had a broken leg. Andy had the Kevin Ward situation that really took his focus off racing. But I'm really surprised at how quickly Jimmy fell off. He went from winning 5-6 races a year to hasn't won in 2 years.
Well, and again, the cars are doing a lot more changing right now and in the last several years than what they had been that whole time. So, that's just something. He was used to driving a car that did one thing, and now the car doesn't do that anymore. So it is quite a transition, I guess is the word I want to use. But the way the cars are changing for 2021 with the new tires and everything, it's going to be a transition that even the crew chiefs are going to have to really have their mind boggled on.
Zach Ralston just tuned in on Facebook. Zach, you want to skip the first 5 minutes of the show. It might be a little embarrassing for you, bud. We appreciate everybody tuning in. This has been Turn 1. This will air Sunday morning on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio. We'll post a link on YouTube once we get the show posted at about 9 or 10 a.m. on Sunday morning. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. Turn number 2, I-80 Speedway Sport Mod Track champion Shawn Harker, the Shark, will join us to talk about his season. Turn number 3, we're going to sit down with Adams County Speedway Sport Compact Track champion Tyler Hoover to talk about his championship. And then we'll come back in turn number 4. We'll do kind of an overcap of the season. More thoughts on that. We'll talk about the Pick'ems contest presented by Rick Havenridge of Wealth Partners and so much more. Make sure you tune in. We'll be back.
Red Oak Fabrication is excited to announce they're expanding their powder coating business, which means quicker turnaround times at the same great price. Get all the benefits of a powder-coated chassis for just $275 for a bare frame. Ask Jordan about special pricing for large and small projects today. Email Jordan F. at redoakfabrication.com. Located at the intersection of Highway 34 and 48 in Red Oak, Iowa, or at redoakfabrication.com. A beautiful and durable service is just down the road.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch. Just about ready to do another Red Oak Fabrication interview. Once again, all of our interviews tonight and all season long are brought to you by Red Oak Fabrication on the intersection of Highway 34 and Highway 48 in Red Oak, Iowa. Just installed 4 brand new powder coating bays so they can turn your powder coating needs around just as quickly as possible, and they're still going to do it at an affordable price. Whatever the size of your chassis is, just $275 for a bare frame to get powder coated. Again, just $275 for a bare frame to get powder coated. If you want to get a free estimate today, call Jordan or just shoot him an email, jordanf@redoakfabrication.com. Joining us on the show now, track champion for Adams County Speedway, driver of the number 27 Sport Compact, Tyler Hoover joining us. How you doing, sir?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks a lot for coming on the show, and congratulations on picking up the track championship.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, it's good to get you on. Is this your first full year racing, or you've been racing for a couple of years?
It's my second full year.
So it's already a track champion in your second year.
Yeah, that's what I was shooting for.
That was your goal after your rookie season. How did your rookie season go? Were you able to race all the races available, or was it kind of hit and miss, kind of figuring the car out?
My rookie season, I had a pretty slow car, and I only raced about 8 races. And then the second season, which was my first full season, I raced my old car for about half season, then jumped in a fast one and won the last 2 races of the season.
Okay. And that was 18, and now you've come back in 19?
Yeah.
What car? Who'd you get your new car from?
Chris Van Osdale. He builds cages and builds fast cars, and I got a hold of him, and he helped me build a car because that's whose car I was driving at the end of the season before. was one of his.
Yeah, he's pretty fast behind his cars.
Oh yeah, they're quick.
That's a good. That was a good call to go with one of his cars that he built. But a good season for you, I believe, according to my race pass. Dominant win, points wise. Was there a point probably with 2 or 3 races to go? You're like, okay, all I could do is lose it now. If I just,
I was like, I just gotta finish. My goal was always just top 5 week in, week out. But at that point, I was like, as long as we just finish this race and do what we got to do, finish it out, we're good.
About 108-point advantage by the end of the year. And when you're talking about Dustin Grout, I got to watch him race weekly at I-80 Speedway. He's no slouch.
No, he's fast, for sure. I think he was a little quicker at I-80 than he was Corning, though. He had that track a little more figured out.
Ran into a little bit of a tech inspection issue at I-80, or else he would have had the track championship there.
Yeah, he seems to have bad luck with that once or twice a year.
But that's a tough class. I mean, I do really enjoy the Sport Compact class because there's some areas you can massage and you can enter the gray area. But for the most part, I mean, it comes down to momentum and talent.
Yeah, momentum and talent really does. Momentum is a big part of it, but you can still make the bottom work if you know how to get it done down there.
Were you a bottom side guy, or did you like working the high side at Adams County?
I started the season out high side.
Yeah.
And then I got T-boned about halfway through the season, and it tweaks my car a little bit. So my rear end was a little bent up, but it actually helped me steer better. So I was able to run the low side from there on out.
Yeah. But you were able to make your car turn just a little bit more. What happened during that T-bone? Did they come up from the bottom side and just slam into you?
I got into a car when I was running about third turn sideways in the very last car.
Yeah.
T-boned me right in the driver's door. And I still finished the race, came from the back and finished top
Really?
5. Yeah.
Some of those Sport Compacts, they can take a pounding.
Oh, yeah. My roll cage moved. I was sitting sideways in the car. It was crazy.
And that's kind of the nice thing about the Sport Compacts. You know, you get T-boned in most other classes and your night's done.
Oh, yeah.
Your car's so jacked up because there's such fine tuning that needs to be done on these cars to make them really work. But in a Sport Compact, it's pretty basic stuff.
Yeah, I didn't know how much damage it actually did. I knew if I wanted, since I was in it for points, I might as well drive it until it can't drive anymore, I guess, and fix it throughout the week. So I just stayed out there.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong ever happened. It worked out.
Are you a solo member of the 27 team? Do you have people that help you out?
Chris Van Osdale and his whole crew, Don and all them, they're close family friends. So I've known them forever. So I just park next to them, and they help me out a lot.
Okay. Anybody that's specifically in your team, or are you kind of a solo guy that walks in, and then you guys work together with the Chris Van Osdale operation?
Chris kind of has his own thing going, really. The high side chassis and all that.
Yeah.
Just that, really. And then, my mom and all them, and my sponsors.
It's very much a family affair when it's racing, and you know, a lot of times it's a carrot for dads to keep their kids paying attention and working hard and learning these cars. Is that something that your dad did with you?
Not really my dad, just my whole family in general. My grandpa used to race cars way back in the day. All my uncles. My mom did derbies for a while.
No kidding.
Everyone, really. I was just it's what I wanted to do because that's what I knew.
Yeah. It's a really cool sport, and the chicks kind of dig it too.
Oh, yeah.
Listen to this, Dirk. He says, oh, yeah. Yeah.
With earlier you mentioned goals, and your goal was, to get a top 5 every night and then to win the season title. Looking forward and future goals, do you have goals like to get into a late model or a modified, or what's your goals moving forward?
Once I got into a faster car and I got my first win, my goal was to get championship after that season, and then I did that. And now I want to get the national championship next year. And eventually, once I get out of school and get an actual job, I'll probably move up classes.
So going for that national championship, what tracks are you going to race at?
Just I-80 and Corning, probably.
Are you going to try to race weekly at I-80 next season?
Probably won't have the money to do it every week, but I'm going to try to get out there more than I did this year. I only got out there once this year.
Yeah, I think when you came out for one of the specials, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I remember seeing you out there. I remember
I finished second, right behind Grout.
Yeah.
It was a fun race.
A good run. How much different is I-80 from Adams County for the guy behind the seat?
You gotta drive the car quite a bit more. You gotta actually, Corning, the car almost drives itself, but at I-80 you gotta actually know how to drive it, and the corners are sharper and the wall comes in fast. I hit that wall not this year but last year, the one time I went out there.
Yeah. Where do you work right now?
I work at Subway and a little family business, the Feedlot Restaurant in Red Oak.
Yeah. Good. Where's that restaurant at?
The old Dairy Queen in Red Oak.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That one burnt down for a time.
Yeah.
Good food there?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's one of the top 99 restaurants in Iowa or something like that. Yeah.
I drive by it quite a bit because my brother lives there. We grew up in that area.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. I have to stop in there sometime. I'm always down at the Rainbow or Johnny's.
My mom used to work at the Rainbow.
Oh, okay. That's a good place to eat. Good cheese balls. Anyways, back on topic. Goals for the future, though. Do you, like Dirk was kind of starting to get to, do you have higher classes you want to race in? That, obviously you've got an unlimited bank account. Are you going late model, sprint car, stock car, NASCAR?
I don't know about all that. Well, my uncle races a B-mod, but I don't really know how I feel about open wheel. I kind of like to have some fenders to use if I need to.
So it sounds like you're more of a late model guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or a Pro Street. I like those Pro Streets.
Okay. Yeah. Those are good fun classes. I'm a big fan of the stock car class because it seems like it's one of the last classes that it takes a little bit of money, but there's still a lot of fun left in that class.
Oh, yeah. And I think they've stepped it up past couple years, too.
Yeah. With the Grabowskis and the Saubings and those big A-mod and late model guys coming down and racing in it. I think Hunter Marriott's got a stock car now that he races every once in a while.
I like watching Buck and the Van Eaton Mafia.
Yeah.
They're good.
Yeah, speaking of that, do you have some big national drivers you like to follow? You think it kind of fits your style of how you want to be a driver?
Oh, I've always liked watching Buck because I'm kind of in the same position now that he was, and that's just pretty cool. And I used to watch Chris Speaker all the time and people like that. I was in the stands every weekend at Corning.
Yeah, well, you got a little ways to go to fill Buck's shoes. Dirk, do you remember having Buck on the show during the World of Wheels? He had a Busch Light in his hand, and he was having a great day. It was a Sunday at like 10:30 or 11, and he's having a good day.
And he kept asking for the waitress.
I could imagine.
Buck was a lot of fun. We were trying to get him in here tonight, but apparently he's got a job.
Oh, yeah.
So he couldn't do it. But anyways, make sure to thank some of the sponsors that helped foot the bill for you guys getting up and down the road.
I'd like to thank the Feedlot Restaurant, B&B Siding, Or Heating and Cooling, Dave's Complete Auto Service, Highside Motorsports, Eggleston Towing. I think that's it.
Yeah. Hey, it takes every penny of those guys. Plans for next year? You getting a new car, or are you going to keep this one?
I don't have to get rid of this car, but I'd like to build a new car.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll just see what happens money-wise this offseason. And
is that an area you might want to get into a little bit? Is starting to get into the engineering side and the building side of it all?
Building the cars is probably my favorite part. I love throughout the winter. Besides the cold, I hate the cold, but building the cars is amazing. I love doing it.
You mentioned Highside Motorsports. That's Chris's company, right?
Yeah, that's Chris's little thing he's got going. Yeah, he builds roll cages for those cars.
Really cool deal, man. Congratulations on the track championship. I know that's a tough one, and you did it dominantly. 108-point advantage over Dustin Grout and Bobby Key. Those are two big guys that know how to race and are coming up in the class, so good job there holding them off.
Thank you. It was exciting.
All right, man. Good luck to you next year. You talked about hitting ACS again weekly next year.
For sure.
And then are you going to try to hit the other tracks? I know Adams County, Shelby County is over in that area.
I go over there.
Or not Adams County, Crawford County and Shelby County.
Yeah, I went over to Shelby County once. I'll probably go out there a few times next year, but mainly just Adams County and I-80.
Yeah. All right, man. Do you have a racing page set up yet, or are you still just running it through your personal page?
Oh, my mom kind of videos all of them and puts them on her Facebook.
Okay. Where can she find those, or where can they find those?
Rebecca Ann Turpin on Facebook.
Right.
They're everywhere, all over her page.
All right. Follow him on Facebook, and once you get that racing page up, we'll make sure to promote it for you. But Tyler Hoover, track championship at Adams County Speedway in the Sport Compacts. Congratulations once again, and we'll talk to you soon, man.
Thanks.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back on the front stretch.
We all have that coworker that runs their mouth off at how great they are. They shot a 5 under par, 95-mile-an-hour fastball, bench press 375, brah. Wouldn't you love to shut them up by schooling them at Joe's Karting? Council Bluffs' premier indoor karting track, professionally designed so each corner is your opportunity to embarrass your coworker. Call Buddy for your next company outing at 712-256-5278. Joe's Karting, white knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue. Next to AMC 17.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole of the front stretch and the home of MAV TV, featuring action from the Lucas Oil Late Model Series.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Located on Mid-America Drive in Council Bluffs.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch. Rolling into turn number 2, and it's time to do another Red Oak Fabrication interview. We're talking with a bunch of the dirt track champions throughout the area, and I want to say a big thank you to Red Oak Fabrication, located in Red Oak, Iowa, for bringing us these interviews in 2019. If you need your chassis powder coated, take advantage of the quality that powder coating can give you on your chassis. It's going to last a little bit longer, it's going to look a little bit more beautiful, and it is corrosive resistant. Corrosive resistant. Find out more information at redoakfabrication.com and get your chassis powder coated for just $275. That's a bare frame, fully powder coated. If you need any sandblasting or reworking, just talk to Jordan. He'll get you set up with a free quote by emailing jordanf@redoakfabrication.com.
Hey.
Joining us on the show now.
If they got a go-kart, they do go-karts down there, a little cheaper.
They will
probably?
do go-karts, absolutely. They'll do sprint car chassis. They'll do sport mod chassis. They'll do midget sprint cars. I just wanted to find a way to throw the word midget in there. Dirk knows my love for that word. So if you guys need to get anything powder coated, and not just race cars, parts and pieces, if you're doing a project with your dad or your kid and you need some parts and pieces powder coated, you are welcome to contact Jordan F. at redoakfabrication.com. Joining us on the show now for another one of our champions interviews, Shawn Harker, driver of the number 40 Sport Mod throughout the area. Shawn picked up the track championship at I-80 Speedway this year. A long, tough season, but a consistent season, and you were able to walk away with the championship. I say walk away as if it was just that easy, right?
Yeah, I wish it was just that easy.
It's a tough thing, and I think for you, when I look at your points, when I watch what you do at Eagle and watch what you do at I-80, it's about consistency, and I think you also throw in the flair of recovery on a bad night. So even though you get caught up in accidents every once in a while, maybe a handful of times throughout the season, you're still able to bounce back and get a nice top 10, top 5 finish.
Yeah, we always have a game plan going in, we never want to have accidents, and we know we're going to get caught up, so we kind of have a game plan going in. If we're in a wreck, that we either come to the pits and we got the guys ready to go to look it over, and if not, we got hand signals. I'll stay out there and try to finish the race.
Yeah, that's something that I remember Scott Bloomquist talking about, was he developed hand signals with his crew so that when he came in, he could just signal them real quick, and they knew what changes he wanted to have made to the car.
Yeah, I mean, you never know what damage you got. One thing I try to do, if we're stopped on the track, is talk to the tow crew, to find out if they could see what's wrong with the car. If, maybe it's just a flat tire, we can go in. If something's bent, I can go in and tell them right away what to look for.
Having that good crew is obviously very important, and, you win the championship in the shop during the week. How big a percentage would you say luck is in the title? Not trying to rub salt in the wound, but is the luck you didn't have at Eagle Raceway?
I was always taught that you create your own luck. So my luck always starts on Sundays after we're done racing for the weekend, or Mondays, is our shop program. We wash the cars. And then it starts Monday night, prepping for the next week. We try to go over everything as much as possible. I'm not one of those guys that just like to show up to the track. I want to show up and be prepared 100% every time.
Yeah, I believe you. I just know, when you get a bad break that, you'll talk to a driver, and most drivers will say luck's at least 80% of the whole deal, because there's so much that can happen. You've got all the other cars on the track that could cause you grief. I mean, 90% of the time, if you're taken out, it's not by your own doing.
No, it is luck. I'm not trying to say there isn't no luck involved, because there is a lot of luck involved. But, I try to focus on the guys that I'm racing around, and do my homework where I'm starting every night to know who I'm racing with.
So control what you can control and not worry about the rest of it.
Yeah, and I mean, there's times, as long as I've been racing, I still have problems, myself making a bad decision and hurting myself.
Are you a superstitious guy at all?
A little bit. We don't eat chicken on race day.
No. I love that you're kind of down on the whole the luck thing, but superstition now. Well, let's not mess with that.
No, that's one thing we never do. We do not eat chicken on race day.
Yeah. Any other ones? Nowhere in green.
No. One of my biggest wins, was a Cornhusker Classic late model race back in 04, I believe it was, and I had green shirt on. I don't really believe in the green, but there's a lot of them out there.
How about peanuts and chicken bones and some of that stuff?
Chicken bones, yeah, anything to do with chicken. Peanuts, a couple guys I race with, they won't eat peanuts. They say we're not at a circus, so
Now, okay, so the question is, do chicken tenders count? Because I don't know if that's technically chicken or not.
It's chicken bones.
Yeah, I don't.
It's the bones that's the
Anything
bad
with the
luck.
word chicken in it
Okay.
is what we go by.
All right. 2 wins on the year, 10 top 5s, 11 top 10s. I talked about it when we started off. It's about consistency. 11 features, you only fell out of the top 5 once.
Yeah, I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that was a 6th place finish. I think 8 of them top 5s were top 3s. So, yeah, just consistent is what wins championships. You know, honestly, we don't start out ever to win a championship. We take it week by week to see how it goes, and then we play it by ear from there.
Yeah, and probably one of the more fierce competitors. I've seen you frustrated at 2nd place and in 3rd place, and I've even seen you frustrated at winning because it's never enough for you. And I love that for my drivers.
You know, people say it's arrogant, say it's cocky. I say it's wanting to be the best race car driver there is out there.
Yeah, I don't think it's arrogance at all. I mean, I just think it comes off as that. I can see how it rubs people the wrong way, but that's what makes you the track champion and them 8th place.
Yeah, I mean, some people take it, the wrong way, and I try not to put a persona out there to be like that, but off the track, I'll do anything I can to help any race car driver out there. I've loaned some of my arch nemesis, if you want to say, parts so they could get their car back going so we could go out and race.
And I love that about it. You know, it takes away from a little bit of a track championship if you win it and because they broke. And in the back of your head, you're thinking, but what if they wouldn't have broke? Would I have still won it? You know, what if we were still competing? Would I have still won it?
I don't want to see anybody break. I want to be out there and be able to race everybody 100%. So if I got something that they need, hopefully they come up and ask, because if I got the part, I'll loan it to them. Your
racing career, we've talked a lot in the pits after the races. I always try to make it a point to swing over because you guys have a good time over in the 240 Motorsports pits, but you race quite a bit throughout the area. It's not just sport mods or modifieds. You've raced late models, and you're even interested in maybe going sprint car one of these days?
I don't know if I'd ever want to say I would go to a sprint car. I'd like to drive one once just to see what it's like, because, pretty much other than I've drove a go-kart, so I've drove pretty much everything other than a sprint car in a race.
Yeah. Sport compact?
Yes, I have.
Really? How'd you do?
Well...
it never starts off good when he looks up and goes, well.
So we showed up at the track one night. The very first year they had the sport compacts at I-80, and my wife was racing.
No kidding.
And I talked to Ed Kaziski, and he had some of them old cars out back, so I borrowed a race suit from a guy, jumped in the car, started in the back, and before we took the green flag, or made it to the flag stand coming out of 4, I thought, well, I'll just pass everybody on the outside. And I didn't realize the car was so slow. By the time we got out of 2, I went from 4th to 20th.
Oh, jeez. And you would like to race a sprint car? That'd be just maybe not competitive, but just kind of feel out what it's like.
Yeah, I'd like to go out there and get on the track in one and turn some laps in it,
This is you started off the year racing the 40 hobby stock, I believe, for your son, kind of feeling that out a little bit, and then he took over. He took over and started racing it. And what's that been like for you? I know you've watched him race because he raced go-karts before.
Yeah,
so it's nothing new, but this is kind of bigger stuff.
Yeah, we got the stock car out and going, and I thought I had it pretty much tuned in, and I wouldn't say to go up and compete, but for where he could drive it and turn laps in it. And I'll be honest, when we raced back-to-back, a lot of times the stock cars would be in front of the sport mods. I couldn't get in my car.
Yeah.
I had to stay... there'd be 3-4 laps to go before it was over, and they're yelling at me to get in my car to get to staging. And I'm like, the excitement, the nervousness, everything to go with it. It was truly a cool feeling watching him go.
Yeah, it's one beast to be the driver, but then to be the dad of the driver. It's a whole nother level of anxiety and butterflies and worry.
The deal was that with getting him in racing is he was going to earn it. Mm-hmm. He was going to work on the cars. A couple years leading up to this, he was going to learn how to do it. So when it came time for him to get in the seat, he had a little respect for what it took to make these cars go, and he's done a phenomenal job doing it. And in the 4 or 5 races that he's got to go, he's really done very well, and I'm very proud and very excited for next year.
Has there been dad wants it one way, driver wants it another way conversation yet, or is it still dad's the crew chief and that's the way it's going to go?
No, that we like I said, I don't know a lot about the stock cars yet. I've been trying to do my homework. I put a setup in it that talking to the guy that builds my shocks, probably one of the better stock car drivers in the area, Kyle Vanover. I talked to him a lot about what we needed to do for it. So once we put him in it, he made some laps the first few nights, and then we started talking about a few adjustments. And even though I thought maybe it's not what we wanted to do, this is what he thought we wanted to do. So then we made the changes that he wants, so he could try to learn and feel what the changes did to the car.
Yeah. 240 Motorsports. Tell me the story behind that.
We were racing late models, touring with the MLRA, NCRA 2 series, and my oldest son, his favorite number was 2, and we were out. I don't even remember where we were racing, and he kept saying he wanted to put the number 2 on the car, number 2. So I got a Sharpie out, and we drew a number 2 into the 40, and just that was probably 05, 06, and it's just stuck. So we kind of wanted to do a Facebook page and create something that we could kind of build a team around, and so we went with the 240 Motorsports.
And that's what Preston will be racing under when he gets kind of to doing full-time stuff?
Yeah, I told him he could do whatever he wanted to do for a number. It didn't have to be my number. It didn't have to, and he wanted to stick with the 40 and do the 240 deal, so that was kind of exciting.
I heard the same thing. You kind of mentioned that you set the car up the way that you felt like he would be stable in it. And Butch Bay did the same thing to Chantel the first year to 2 years she was in her car. There's an art to setting up the car so that it's stable versus on the edge, and they're just constantly spinning out.
Yeah, I've been driving a long time, and when I drove it, I set it up to what I thought was, good for me, and then I set it up a couple different ways that I thought would be good for him. So I found a balance there that I thought would fit his driving style, kind of knowing how new drivers are. And, at first, I think it was more his drive, not knowing how to drive the car, but it actually worked pretty good. It was a pretty stable setup.
Yeah.
But Dan, you're almost comparing at that point. I mean, he's talking about setting up a stock car where the Bade's talking about setting up a hobby stocker.
Yeah.
I mean, there is night and day between those two cars on what you can do with the chassis.
I want to say that Butch set it up very, very tight on purpose so that it couldn't come out, or it was less likely to come out from behind her.
Well, yeah. Easy to do on a hobby stocker.
Yeah.
I mean,
we
set it up tight.
I tightened the car up quite a bit for him, I liked it a lot looser, for drivability, but, that's... Some guys have the natural ability to jump in a car and just go fast, and I'm not saying he doesn't have that because he's done very well, but I wanted to make sure that it went in the corner and it wasn't spinning out, or it wasn't, if he got on the brakes, hanging a hard right, into the fence, or, just where he could go in and drive and turn some laps.
You have talked about there is probably an end game to your racing career. Do you have that on the horizon? Is a couple of years down the road? Was this your last year? Are you done racing?
No, I'm not done yet. I haven't decided to hang up yet. It's in the near future. I don't, we talk about it around a lot. My kids say no, they don't want me to quit racing, but I want to keep driving. I feel I'm a good enough driver to stay driving for a while, but I want to get Preston and my youngest boy. I want to get them going in it, and it's going to be hard for me to go do the racing like I want to race. And keep them going at the same time. So I'd say in the next couple of years, maybe sooner, maybe longer. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out.
Nobody ever wants to retire when you're fresh off of a track championship because, like you said, you think you're still a good driver. Well, obviously, you beat some incredibly good sport mod drivers, and you're working on raising a family of racers. So, I hope that you're 5-8 years down the road before you really start to consider retiring.
We started a family pretty young, so I'm not even into my 40s yet, and talking of retiring. But I've been racing since I was 16 years old, so, it's been a long career, as far as that goes. A lot of people don't make it this long, It's very expensive. It's time consuming as all get out, and
give me a Coke.
But that's something that we do as a family, and I tell the boys all the time, if we're going to do this and we're going to spend the money, we're going to do it all the way, 100%.
Yeah. The big frustration with you is that you are, pardon the term, balls to the walls with a lot of this stuff. And I think some of your competitors would prefer you to back off an inch or two. Not saying anything about on the racing incidents, but if you're going to spend the money, you're going to have the good equipment. If you're going to spend the time, you're going to spend the extra time. If you're going to put it together, it's going to be championship-worthy material every time it reaches the track.
Yeah,
there's no slacking.
No, there is not, and it's, and I don't know if it's from like our beginning when we started racing. We always joke around that we had $1,500 in our car, race ready, when the first year we went out on the track. We just didn't have any money to put into it.
Yeah.
And as I grow, we grew the team and we got better and more sponsors and, aged and, I got better jobs. I want to put the best car out there possible, and I don't ever feel like we're going to get beat because our equipment's lacking.
Yeah. Think about some of them sponsors that help you fund the great operation and get up and down the road.
Oh, man, I've got some really great sponsors. Patriot Crane and Rigging, who I work for, they back me 100%. They really help out my program. Speedway Motors, they build the engines for my car. Zach and the guys in the engine shop, they do a great job. Kyle Vanover at Speedway Shocks, they really, Kyle and them guys do a great job keeping our shocks tuned and testing and changing stuff. They're not afraid to, we call up, say, hey, I want to try something different, or he's got an idea.
Yeah.
He's going to call me and say, hey, I got this idea, I want to try for some shocks. You in? I'm like, heck yeah, let's do it. So Tex Cattle, Ron Tex, he's a racer. He helps me out a lot. He's helped me over the last few years. Brad Heitman, he came on board this year. He's helping me out, I got a lot of people to thank.
There's a lot of guys that probably throw you $50, $100 here and there, and it helps with the tire bill or helps put water in the cooler, get the kids something to eat at the pits. Every little bit helps.
Yeah, I got, like BSC Performance is a buddy of mine out in Nebraska City there. He comes around, he's just starting his own shop, doing mechanics work, and anytime he can, he throws me $100 or $200, or if he's up here this way, he'll stop in and grab a tire and bring me a tire. So yeah, every little dime helps.
Shawn Harker, driver the number 40 Sport Mod throughout the area, track champion at I-80 Speedway. I didn't mention this part. Absolutely whooped the field. 74-point advantage by the time the season ended. Big win, big points advantage for you. I kept saying at the very beginning, it's about consistency. That's how you build those points leads. You don't have to worry about it the last 2 weeks walking into the race.
No, but, as you know, and we've talked about it a lot, I don't go to the track worrying about points. I go to win. Mm-hmm. And second, I'm not saying it's unacceptable, but we go to win. And that's what we do.
240 Motorsports on Facebook. That is TWO40, the number 40, Motorsports on Facebook. Shawn, always do appreciate having you on the show. Look forward to talking to you. Hopefully in March we'll get your plans for 2020.
Yeah, season ain't over yet. We got this weekend. And then, I don't know, we're going to maybe hit Missouri at the end of the month, and then we'll be out to Dillon Desert in Vegas trying to win another one of them.
All right. Good luck to you down there, and have a great offseason. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
Shawn Harker, driving the number 40. Thanks a lot for your time. We'll be back on the front stretch.
As summer winds wind down, those chilly nights at the racetrack are just around the turn. Stay warm while looking good, cheering on your favorite driver with Carhartt from Red Oak Fabrication. Since 1889, Carhartt has proven their mettle from the trenches of World War I to the toughest job sites today. Browse the large selection at the Red Oak Fabrications Carhartt store and get $5 off pants until September 29th. RedOakFabrication.com/Carhartt or at the corner of North 3rd and East Grimes in Red Oak.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
It's checkers or wreckers as we enter turn 4 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Welcome back to it. Heading into turn number 4, brought to you by Quaker Steak and Lube, the official watering hole of the front stretch. Oh, man, it's the first time I've said this in 9 months. There's no racing action today. But you can catch all the NFL action on the big screens of Quaker Steak and Lube. The thing I love about them is that they, in the Brickyard, if you want to watch your favorite game or the major game of the matchup, you can sit down there and they've got the audio turned up. It's nice and loud so you can hear every play, you can hear the commentary, and you can enjoy all the great food. If you go to Quaker Steak and Lube and you get yourself something to eat, I highly recommend the Boom Boom Shrimp for the appetizer.
The Boom Boom.
And then the Jacked Up BLT is life-changing. It may add a little bit to the midsection, but, food from time to time should be comfortable, should make you feel good, and the Jacked Up BLT will absolutely make you feel good. It may even change your life. Get over to the Lube today. Follow them on Facebook, Quaker Steak and Lube Council Bluffs. We got to say a big thank you to those guys. Not only do they sponsor the show, but they support us in so many different ways. Well, it's entertaining us when we go down to Kansas Speedway because Chris has got a spot over in turn 4, so we go and sit with him and watch the race.
And eat a brat.
Or it's just having these parties at Quaker Steak and Lube. It's given us $100 for our Quaker Steak and Lube a 5-week contest, which, by the way, Brittany Hendricks won that, but she lives in Georgia. She's got friends that participate in this, so she played along this year, and she's going to be getting herself a pick out of the prize vault. She said, go ahead and send that down. So Dan Cleaver, who finished second, actually ended up winning the $100 gift card from Quaker Steak and Lube. And then they give us $100 cash for the day of contest for the Pick the Winner contest, which we talked about in turn number 1. Patsy Havenridge ended up winning that.
Well, and they do the same thing at the Daytona party,
Yep,
too.
absolutely. They provide us a great avenue for supporting racing. And also, if you go to Joe's Karting and you take your race receipt to Quaker Steak and Lube, you get 10% off your bill.
We didn't know that.
Yeah, we've talked about it a couple of times.
We didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. I've talked about it a couple of times on here.
We didn't know that.
We knew that. You forgot it.
No, you knew that.
I've talked about it on the show a couple of times.
That was before I came on the show.
It's been this year. They've been posting about it on Facebook. But it's a great way to they do a great job of supporting. And there's a special announcement coming out in about a week or two regarding some stuff with Quaker Steak. So be listening to their Facebook page and everything they're doing. We really appreciate Chris and William and everybody over at Quaker Steak and Lube for all of their support all year long. Get over to the Lube today. Watch all the NFL action. And during the summertime, you can get there on Tuesday nights for all-you-can-eat wings, which, by the way, that's going to be every Tuesday throughout the year. Wednesday night's bike night, and Thursday night is Classic Car Night. It's a great time to get out and see some American muscle. Classic Car Night has been a special place for me. It's where I met Sarah and where I've seen some great American muscle. And just, I mean, the number of times that car drives down the road and turns into the parking lot of Quaker Steak, and everybody's head is turning and just watching as that beautiful whatever pulls into the parking lot and backs in and gets out, and then everybody kind of walks over and starts talking the story. Where'd you find it? What did you do to it? How did you renovate it? And they've got a book of pictures. It's just an amazing experience.
And then Dan gets in his truck and backs into it.
Yep, the Colorado. No, I don't park anywhere near. I don't park anywhere near that parking lot because I know. Growing up on the farm and hitting everything on that farm, I know better than to park in the parking lot with the classic cars. Quaker Steak and Lube, big thank you to those guys.
And they need to stay a hold of our Facebook page because we will soon be back to recording on Tuesday evenings.
Absolutely. At Quaker Steak and Lube, we're going to get that kicked back up again. We still have the Malvern Bank Super Late Model Series drivers to talk to. We want to get to the Shelby County Speedway track champions and the Crawford County Speedway track champions. Plus, we're going to, if we can get some interest, we can get some guys to come over. We can talk to the Buena Vista Raceway track champions. We want to tour around and hit some of these guys. We want to do it at a central location where fans can come out. It's a little bit of a drive for drivers that maybe race at Shelby or Buena Vista, the Beaver. But I think it's a good time to come over.
We invite them. So
yeah.
if they want to come down, we'll talk to them. If not, we'll probably end up getting them on the phone in the spring.
Hey, coming up next week, Dirk, first off, I got to do this kind of stereotypical thing. It's freaking Thanksgiving next week.
Why?
It is.
Have you been threatened to get on the table or what?
No, it is Thanksgiving next week. It's just like this year is just going by so fast. I can't even fathom it. And now we're talking about Thanksgiving. And when you talk about Thanksgiving, you got to talk about the turkey chase.
Absolutely.
The annual turkey chase at the Lancaster Event Center. It's open to the public, and it's only $10 to go. And I'm telling you, you want to talk about price per race.
Oh, it's
they
you're
run,
paying them even getting in for $10. There is a lot of racing.
I mean, you're down into the pennies per race.
Oh.
The amount of the heat races. I mean, they have 200-300 carts that show up to this. All these different classes. It's an indoor event, so it's a little bit warmer, but they do have to keep the garage doors open to ventilate because the emissions can get a little bit high. But it's a great opportunity down to the Turkey Chase, the Lancaster Event Center in Lincoln on 84th Street in Lincoln. You can get more information I-80Speedway.com/Little Sunset. It kicks off on Friday, the 29th, continues on the 30th, and then December 1st, that Sunday, is when it wraps up. 3 great days of racing. I've got to get over there and watch it sometime. It's a lot of just tons of racers, and it's not just up-and-comers. You know, guys like Jacob Hobscheit will pick up a ride and just go race over there for fun. Shaylee Bade and her sisters go over there and race. And
I know Road Dogg, I think, was getting a cart deal together.
Rowan Mason was throwing one together. Awesome deal there. But there's a lot of great competition over there and a lot of fun to go watch it. We highly suggest you do it. Turkey Chase, just search or go to I-80Speedway.com/Little Sunset and find the Turkey Chase information, which you can do.
And if you're swinging down there,
Zach says he'll be over for the Turkey Chase, but only if Dan coaches him. Listen, as excited as I am to beat you that second race, bud, nobody wants me to coach you.
Yeah, the only thing Dan will ask you to do is he wants you to be perfect and hit the pace car.
That's right. Just to hit everything and the pace car. The Turkey Chase, the annual Turkey Chase. The other great thing is Anthony Ainsley's the annual announcer over there, does a great job with the Turkey Chase. You're going to be up to date with him, and we're going to have to follow him. We'll get him on the show in the next couple of weeks, kind of recap some of the action, some of the winners. But, the Turkey Chase is coming up. I swear, Dirk, it was like we were just getting ready for going to Kansas, and all of a sudden I blinked, and now we're talking about the Turkey Chase.
Yeah, and if they're interested, Anthony does carry a Sharpie for autographs.
Absolutely, he does. Want to send a big thank you out to Rick Havenridge of Wealth Partners, our provider for the Pick'ems contest. He helped us not only with the season-long contest, but also both Kansas Speedway contests and the Iowa Speedway contest and the Quaker Steak and Lube contest. Because of Rick, we're able to offer these contests for free to our great listeners and our great supporters. And I got to send a big congratulations out. Jake Sells is our champion. Walked into Homestead with a 5-point advantage and ended up winning the championship and winning it all. He started from as far back as 84th at Atlanta in race number 2. So after the race at Atlanta, he had 8 points leaving Daytona. He got 21 points at Atlanta. He had 29 points after that race. He was sitting 84th, and he makes his way all the way back to be our eventual champion. That's got to be the farthest we've ever had a champion come from.
It might be. I mean, I wasn't involved the first couple of years, even though I won one of those years, but I didn't come back from that far. I kind of went out front and stayed there.
Yeah, your years, I was still doing it on an Excel sheet, so it was like 35 to 50 people that were involved in it. But I mean, that's a testament to no matter what happens at Daytona, Atlanta, for the first 5 or 6 races, you can always battle your way back. And congratulations to Jake. He's going to get that awesome trophy at the Daytona 500 party at Quaker Steak and Lube on February 16th. We'll get that made up in the next couple of weeks and get that presented to him. But congratulations to him and everybody in the top that continued to pick throughout the playoffs will receive a pick of prize from our prize vault. We've already sent out a first batch of emails, getting all that stuff organized with the top 16, and now we're just getting ready to send them out for the 17th on back.
Chad and I were wondering what we want from you.
Well, nobody ever said anything, so
I asked 100 times.
You got to get together with Chad.
Well, we did. We decided that you need to buy us brand new Corvettes.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not paying up now because it's going to be way too expensive. If you guys want dinner at Quaker Steak, 100% I'm on board. I'll buy dinner at Quaker Steak. Or maybe we can go to Harrah's, go to the buffet or something like that. Do some sports
Whatever,
betting.
we'll figure out something.
Yeah, well, I'll pony up, but I'm gonna have to get final approval on that because I'm not buying you guys any Corvettes. I had a good year in sales, but not that good of a year. Let's see what Facebook Live is talking about. Let's see, Gil. They need to move Bristol way south and spray the whole track with the VHT.
He wants it run.
Farther,
like for the championship.
Later in the schedule?
Well, no, just for the championship because it's up there. They're supposed to get snow this week in Bristol. So.
Jeez. Good land.
I mean, they're up there at the edge of the mountains, the Appalachians. So, yeah, that's not quite far enough south that they probably won't ever get a championship that far north.
Yeah, that's going to be a little bit difficult. I like the fact that they're moving it to Phoenix next year. I did like it at Homestead, but this year's race was a little bit. I think it was a 6 for me on a scale of 1 to 10. Maybe last year's was more like an 8 to 9. But you can't take it on a one-year basis. Homestead has been a great track for championship because it's so wide. I mean, there's multiple grooves to go after. It's in a great location in the country because you got a good chance of it always being warm. But they're going to move it to Phoenix next year. I like the idea of it going to a short track because I think we're going to get some more beating and banging. And the way that drivers race Phoenix, I think it's going to add some for an exciting finish.
Yeah, well, I mean, Phoenix is a mile, but I don't consider that a short track. I consider basically just 2 short tracks of Bristol and Martinsville.
Yeah.
And maybe if they go ahead here, if anybody's listening, and add Iowa Speedway, I would, because that's under a mile. Richmond's under a mile. Again, Richmond is, I think, just a little too far north to try and plan a championship around. Iowa Speedway is definitely way out of the market for a championship, but I just hope they get a race here when they redo stuff. I really think Cup cars would race very well there.
I think it'd be an amazing weekend to go watch the Cup guys there. I'm still worried about the logistics at Iowa Speedway because it's going to be tough if they what do you think a Cup race at Iowa would sell? Probably 40,000 seats that first race?
I'll bet more than that. I bet for a Cup race they'd probably sell 60, which they had over 60 when they had their first nationwide race, but Xfinity Series race. And the logistics, they've done a bunch with motels there between Newton and right at the racetrack, and Des Moines not that far away. When I was at Tech, I stayed well over an hour away at many places just for lack of motels. So that's not going to be a big issue. I really don't think.
I'm more worried about the infield because there's not a lot of infield to be had there. But then again, this is a series that goes to Martinsville and Bristol. If they can manage that, they can manage Iowa Speedway, which has way more space than Bristol and Martinsville.
Yeah, they've got plenty of space to run it. I just think it would be just a fantastic race. I think. I think the fans would show up. Now, would it keep selling out year after year? Who knows? Depends on how good the race was.
Yeah, that would be up to the drivers and the racing action.
But they've gone and added that Whelen Modified Series race this year. That is going to be an incredible experience, people. These are cars that weigh 2,400 pounds with a whole bunch of horsepower and an Indy-style tire on a great big fat tire. These cars are going to fly around.
They've got about
track.
the same size engine as a Cup Series car, right?
Same size engine, but again with 1,000 less pounds to move around.
Right. So it's going to be
a lot more and 6 inches more tire.
Oh Jesus!
They are going to fly. It is going to. We are going to stay at the track for that race.
We are?
Yes, we
are.
We're
going to stay at the track for that race.
You're going to be amazed at how fast these little I want to say a bad word, so these little boogers go. How's that?
That's going to do it for us for today's show. We greatly appreciate everybody tuning in. Big thank you to Shawn Harker and Tyler Hoover for coming by. If you missed any part of their interviews, you can always tune in. And you can always hear a replay of today's show when we post it on YouTube at about 9 a.m. So here coming up in just a few minutes. Might be 10 a.m. if we're running a little bit behind, but you can always get that on YouTube. And big thank you to everybody. Next weekend, we're going to have Ryan Jenkins, who is a driver of the number 6 modified throughout the area. He's going to come on and talk about his season. And we'll talk with Ben Shelton of MSR Mafia to talk about the Gateway Dirt Nationals coming up in St. Louis just very shortly. For everybody that tuned in on Facebook, thanks a lot for your support. For everybody that's on air, we greatly thank you for your support. We'll be back next weekend to do it all over again. For Dirk Houston, I'm Dan Taylor. This has been The Front Stretch on AM 590.
The official watering hole of The Front Stretch has you covered any day of the week with the best wings, great burgers, and amazing steaks. Each weekday from 4 to 6 is happy hour, featuring $1 off draft and well drinks plus $4 Luberitas. Mondays are kids' night. Tuesdays are all-you-can-eat wings for $12.95, and the lube even delivers to the Council Bluffs area. Like Quaker Steak and Lube Council Bluffs on Facebook for a full list of weekly events.
Get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Mid-America Drive, Council Bluffs.
Hey, look at that. You're sitting on your couch playing Halo, Madden, or NASCAR while your friends are at Joe's Karting. Each lap is an adrenaline-filled, heart-pumping, white-knuckle experience that you can only get at the Metro's largest indoor karting track. Eco-friendly Honda engines rip you around the professionally designed road course at breakneck speeds. Can you reach the 14-second lap bracket? There's only one way to find out. Put the controller down and get to Joe's Karting, 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs next to Quaker Steak and Lube.
This has been the Front Stretch Radio Show, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. To contact Dan or Dirk, find them on Facebook at The Front Stretch or email them at frontstretch590@gmail.com. If you missed any part of today's show or want to hear a previous show, subscribe to the Joe's Karting YouTube page, where you can find almost every Front Stretch show.